Alright, so we're at the point now where we're getting ready to start doing our finishing up with these seams here. Now, we're going to be flat felling these, and one little trick for flat felling is you want to cut off the excess material on the inside, or the part that you're not going to see, because it's going to fall. It's going to fold over and then fold over again towards there, and it makes, when we cut off this extra piece here, it's a lot less work trying to put the needle through as many layers of fabric as it would be if we didn't cut off the extras here. Now, in the gussets themselves, I cut off on the edge right over here on both sides. Some people might say, oh, well, why didn't you just go ahead and place it a little bit lower? I find it makes it so much more easier, especially when you're lining up and making sure everything's nice and even. Just do that and then cut off all the excess. Now, as you can see here, I cut off just this section right over here on there, but I stopped right where the gusset starts, and I didn't cut off that. And the reason why is that we're going to flat fell this towards the gusset on both sides, and then after that we'll have this. Your flat fell always should be your fell, which means where it's going to be pointing towards, should always be towards the back. That was just sort of a standard that you saw with a lot of shirts from back then. And I think honestly, I was told somewhere one time, I think the reason why for that is because for extra strength and durability, because you're going to be pulling more forward than you would be backwards. So by having the flat fell there, what that basically does is it strengthens the seam. So I'm going to go ahead, I cut out this side already, but I haven't cut off the other side just yet. And the reason why, like I said before, we do both is that I'll know and I'll have a mirror image. So I know on this one, if I put it just like this and I cut off here, these are exactly the same. But I want to have it point the other way, and then I can go ahead and cut off the inside piece right here. So I'm going to go ahead, cut off all that, and then on the gusset, and then cut off this, and then I'm going to take this over to my ironing board, and we're going to go and start ironing up this bad boy. When I do that, then too, I'm going to also iron flat the vent reinforcements, and I'm also going to get the cups then ironed then too. And then we can go flat fell the seams, work on the cups, and then start continuing on there. So we're getting close to the halfway point with our sleeves, and it looks like I might be able to do all this in one video. So let's go ahead and let's start doing the rest, finish up the rest of our work. Alright, so I got my iron nice and hot, and I'm going to go ahead and first iron just the actual smaller seam on the gusset itself right here. The reason why for that is I'll do both of them on each sleeve, and then I'll come back and I'll iron the longer seam that we're going to be flat felling then too. So I also have over here my cups and my my cups and my vent supports in too. And we're going to go ahead and iron those for the time being though. But we'll go ahead and flat fell those, do any sort of prep stitching on the cups, and then after that we'll come back and we'll iron and flat fell the other seams then. So, but I'll go ahead and I will do everything showing you how I do the flat felling of a seam just for the smaller seams here. So I'm sure everyone can go ahead and kind of figure out how to do the rest of it yourself. So first thing is I like to put it on the edge right over here. It makes it a lot easier, and I'll go through and iron the actual seam open just like so, and you can see how it's nice and open. Now the next part of what I'll do is, and you got to work kind of a little bit quickly while it's still nice and hot, is now I'll just go through and just sort of kind of easily ease it down. It should hopefully still be somewhat warm. Yeah, it's kind of warm here. And then just sort of press this down and then come through with the iron and press it down like so. Sometimes it takes just a little finesse just to get it just right. This takes practice, you know. Like I said, any of the stuff that you're seeing here, I mean, I've actually lost count of how many shirts I've done. So This isn't something like, this isn't my first time. This is my first time doing this, so it takes practice. But you know, enough practice. You know the old saying, practice makes perfect. And with enough practice over time, anybody really can do this. Now, I'm going to go ahead and I folded over the sleeve part itself on here. Just kind of press it down like so. And then we're going to come through and we're just going to really just sort of iron that nice and flat, just like so. What I want to do with the cuffs is I want to go ahead and just try to make this nice and even, and we're just going to do a nice light ironing with that. And the reason why is that's going to help us maintain a nice, smooth, even, crisp cuff when we're done sewing it. Ironing is really going to help, you know, ironing your stuff, your work as you're working on is going to help give it that bit more of a professional look. Because you can see here, I'm a little off like that, so we'll make sure we'll bring that together like so on there, and we'll go through and just iron this nice and smoothly. Okay, those are ready to be sewn up. Alright. Now, what I like doing with the vent reinforcements, you fold over one edge, give it about, I don't know, 3/8. I'm going about 3/8. You can go with like 3/8 to half an inch. And we're going to iron that like so. Go to the other side, fold that over, iron that like so, pressing down with the iron. Flip it over, iron that, and then I think I left the TV on. I watch a little TV that helps the noise something while I'm working, so okay, there. Alright, remember before I told you about that mason jar? Well, as you can see here, I got one of the flat fell or ironed seems to be flat felled here. I usually work close up against my chest, but this is kind of an awkward angle for me, so I'm going to try to do as best as I possibly can with this. So what I like to do when I'm flat felling a seam, and this is a tip that that one of the guys at Wamba and White told my buddy, who then after that shared with me, and it is for how to make really good looking flat felled seams. So what I'm going to do, hopefully you can see here, I'm going to first start off, I'm going to come up underneath the part that is supposed to be folded down onto there. I'm not going underneath on the actual gusset fabric, I'm actually on the sleeve fabric right here. I'm going to come through, and the reason why is that that's going to hide my knot. Especially if you're doing finishing sewing such as this. You know, flat felling is considered finishing sewing. You want to try to have it look as nice as possible on here. So I'll come through, and then what I'll do in the next part is I'll come down, grabbing the actual fabric itself of the gusset and coming through the sleeve seam, just like so. And I'll continue going down. This is a very awkward angle that I'm working at though too. So I'm definitely not going to be going through and showing you all my flat felling. I'll be coming through and trying to work this whip stitch like so. You can see here. Now I've seen some shirts where you actually could do a running stitch for the flat felling, but whip stitch works just as fine. I mean, they were done either way. I like doing the whip stitch, it's a lot easier. So, but then after that you're going to get on the other side a look just like that on there. Now that is easily shown, and if you had a properly constructed shirt, this would show on the outside. And a lot of guys that I know who are into the hardcore end of the hobby, they really they look at stuff like that. They could see and spot that stuff a mile away. So, but the reason why you do this is that it's going to make for a good, strong seam. All right. So anyway, I'm going to continue on going down doing this seam, and then I'm going to do the other gusset seam, and then after that I will come back and I'll show you what I'm going to be doing with the actual cuffs then too, getting those all prepped up, ready to go. Alright, so basically as you can see here, I've gotten this seam flat felled on here, so you can kind of see exactly what you're going to be looking at when towards the end if you're going to be doing the whip stitch. So it's a good strong seam. Won't come apart. I think I did a pretty good job on it, and if you look at the other side, looks pretty nice and even. So I think I did a pretty decent job with that. Alright, so off I go on to the next part. Alright, we're going to work on these cuffs here. Now what I'm going to be doing with the cuffs here, as I'm going to be, these are going to be flipped the inside out. I'm going to be going about half an inch away from the actual edge that gets attached. These are one big giant piece that has been folded flat. Now, a lot of cuffs, you could, like I said before in a previous video, you could actually have it where it's a different material on the inside, and if you're putting two different materials, just place one on top and then just go around. You can kind of figure that out yourself. But I'll just go ahead and start off once again doing a few stitches in one spot, like so, and then we'll go through and we will stitch up cuffs here all the way to the end. And you're going to want to do this on both sides to both cuffs. Okay. Now we're getting close towards the end right over here. Once again, for added strength, we're going to go and just put a couple stitches in one spot, and then after that we'll go ahead and tie off the end here. Now, we're going to cut off our thread, and then we're also going to go ahead and we're going to cut off and kind of angle it just right. We're going to cut off the actual corner. We're going to clip the corner here. Come in at about a 45-degree angle so that you kind of get it like that, as you can see there. So we'll do that, and then the reason why is that when we flip it inside out, it's going to make it look much nicer, and it's not going to be all bunched up at the end there. So, like I said, just do that to all four sides of the of both cuffs, or both sides of both cuffs, and then yeah, we'll go on from there.